Okay, abusuaba mmakɔ abaso so ɛde ba POG Media so. Yɛde mɛkɔ political highway ne so highway ne deɛ ɛnsɛm bebree wɔ so a yɛn so yɛagye pene sɛ bɛmi abadwafoɔ no ahu deɛ ɛkɔ ɛne deɛ ɛba na abusuama yɛn mbɔnwura yɛn nsɛm mu no ɛyɛ NDC egu so egyina ɛyɛ EC officials ne kɔn so a ɛnyɛ asɛm ketewa koraa ɛfa ɛyɛ dɔme kwabenya seat no ɔmo deɛ ɔmo se ɔmo ka akyerɛ ɛyɛ electoral commission ne sɛ ɔmo no ɔmo nhia ɛyɛ scan pink sheet biara na ɔmo mma EC officials no ultimatum sɛ ɔmo no ɛyɛ sɛ ɔmo release ɛyɛ original pink sheet no na ɛkyɛ sɛ ɔmo ɛde ɛyɛ collation na ɛkyɛ sɛ results no ɔmo mpɛ fake scan sheet biara nti na ɔmo de strong warning ama EC officials na abusua ɛyɛ fear and panic arise ɛwɔ ɛyɛ EC headquarters no ɛnyɛ asɛm ketewa koraa yɛn nsɛm mmomre no yɛbɛpɛ sɛ yɛbɛmi abadwafoɔ no bɛmi akɔ na yɛakɔ akɔtie nsɛm a ɛkɔ so na ansa na yɛbɛkɔ no wowɔ nsɛm kan bi a fa hyɛ yɛ comment section like na hyɛ ma afoforɔ nso ɛnsa ntumi ɛnka bi aha ɛyɛ POG Media so medam ase.
And then also Tema Central and Techima South being now overturned, that redeclaration being quashed by the Supreme Court, this ruling yesterday, because the Obuasi East constituency situation is almost similar to what happened in Okaigwe Central, right? When the NDC candidate had already been declared, and then last Saturday we saw a redeclaration of the NPP candidate as the MP elect. But hold on a bit for me with the answer to this question. Albert Ahin, the man you just mentioned his name, he's joining us on the telephone right now. He is the national coordinator of the Coalition of Domestic Election Observers, CODEL. He's been a director of the electoral services for the Electoral Commission, Eastern Regional Director of the Electoral Commission at some point. Mr. Albert Hein, good morning. Thank you for joining us on Key Points.
Morning, my brother.
It's good to have you. First off, can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm getting you, my brother.
Oh, you are not so well.
No, I'm hearing you. Please go ahead.
Oh, thank you very much. Now, earlier in the week, CODEL, you recommended that there should be a rerun of the elections in the polling stations that the pink sheets have not been found in the Dom Kwabenya constituency, 3 of them, and then also in the Ablekuma North, about 62 polling station pink sheets are being contended. Will the rerun be a solution, really, to this situation in these 2 constituencies?
Yes, you and I know very well that there's a stalemate. And what has even worsened the situation is that we don't have any of the other parties who is also in possession of some pink sheets that can be used. And I told you earlier on, some time ago, that normally when we have a stalemate like that, you rely on the pink sheet of the other party. Why we do so is that the presiding officer may have signed, the results have to tally amongst all of them. For example, if we take 3 parties, together with maybe one of the major parties that have gotten 1, if we have similarities, or they are the same figures that you find on the pink sheet, then you can readily rely on these sheets and then pronounce or declare the result. But here we are, for example, at the Ablekuma North. One side has it, the other side has the results scanned. And each of them is not prepared to accept or yield to whatever is there as evidence. So obviously, if we cannot rely on any one of them, then what else should be done is to go again and either do the whole thing or, like I said, concentrate on the polling stations that are left. And then if you do a rerun, and get everybody involved, and then the results can be announced. But as it is now, we cannot rely on any result that is readily available. The EC doesn't have it. So what do? The obvious answer is that none of them is prepared to yield, so we have to do it again. That is what I said.
I see. But then again, for the NDC, they hold a strong view that, for instance, for Dom Kwabenya, they have 2 of the 3 polling station pink sheets. The NPP doesn't have it. The Electoral Commission also says they don't have it. In the case of the Ablekuma North, the NPP says they have 25 scanned pink sheets out of the 62. NDC says they will not admit the scanned pink sheets. They want original copies. The Electoral Commission doesn't have their copies of the pink sheets. So at what point would you recommend a compromise? That is, if there will be at all in this situation.
If we take 3 parties, together with maybe one of the major parties that have gotten one, if we have similarities, or they are the same figures that you find on the pink sheet, then you can readily rely on these sheets and then pronounce or declare the result. But here we are, for example, at the Ablekuma North. One side has it, the other side has the results scanned. And each of them is not prepared to accept or yield to whatever is there as evidence. So obviously, if we cannot rely on any one of them, then what else should be done is to go again and either do the whole thing or, like I said, concentrate on the polling stations that are left. And then if you do a rerun and get everybody involved, and then the results can be announced. Now, we cannot rely on any result that is readily available. The EC doesn't have it. So what do? The obvious answer is that none of them is prepared to yield, so we have to do it again. That is what I said.
I see. But then again, for the NDC, they hold a strong view that, for instance, for Dom Kwabenya, they have 2 of the 3 polling station pink sheets. The NPP doesn't have it. The Electoral Commission also says they don't have it. In the case of the Ablekuma North, the NPP says they have 25 scanned pink sheets out of the 62. NDC says they will not admit the scanned pink sheets. They want original copies. The Electoral Commission doesn't have their copies of the pink sheets. So at what point would you recommend a compromise? That is, if there will be at all in this situation.
The question has the answer you yourself have given. The scan one is not being accepted by the NDC.
Yes.
They don't want to accept the scan one because they think that something untoward may have happened to it. The other parties amongst is it the 11 or whatever, those that are left, also don't have any. If they don't have any to support whoever has it, if, for example, the other parties have gotten some of the pink sheets, you look at it and then they have similar figures. You have the same figures like what the other one has, then of course you will see that you have a point, you have something to rely on because the presiding officer who belongs to the EC has signed and the agents have also signed, then you can declare. But here you are with some doubt about what is happening. So the obvious choice, the alternative, or what should be done now, is to redo it, rerun, and then everybody will have his peace of mind. Because nobody, as I said, would want to yield to this kind of exercise. Like, okay, now I'm going to accept your scan results. Let's see whether we can rely on it and check the figures. If they are okay, then we can go on. So in the face of this, the obvious choice is to go again And that is my stand.
I see. I'll seek the thoughts of my guests in studio as well. But you haven't worked in the commission, the Electoral Commission, for a number of years in various high positions in the commission, Director of Electoral Services at some point. You headed the Eastern Regional EC at some point, and many others that you have done in the Electoral Commission. Seeing how things have played out during and after this election, and even the Supreme Court decision yesterday, how does all of this strike you?
You were talking about the Supreme Court decision yesterday.
Yes.
I'm not a lawyer. But if I read what was published or was read in the news, the decision is that the NDC wasn't given a chance to defend itself when they went to court.
To be heard, yes.
They were not allowed to present their case. So what the Supreme Court is saying is that let them present their case. If they present their case and then they don't have anything in it, then of course it will be pronounced and whatever should happen will happen. But this is a case where they were not allowed to present their case. So I think they are going again for them to present whatever they want to present in terms of their defense. So if they find anything substantial, anything credible in whatever they will present, they will tell the whole nation, and then we take it up from there. So I think once they were not given a chance to explain themselves as to the decision they have taken, I think the court has taken a good decision to let them present their case, and then we take it up.
Would you also, from where you sit, because of the concerns that have been expressed, not just by some of my guests this morning, but by some members of the general public about the posture of the Electoral Commission towards some of the concerns raised about its position that it has taken on some of the issues before and during and after this election, would you recommend that some sort of rethinking and reconsideration in terms of the Electoral Commission's engagement with the public be reviewed based on your own experience at the Electoral Commission?
To be honest with you, I would say that the Commission has so far been acting within limits, within bounds. You see, it's difficult when you are, for example, in a situation to declare results and there's so much pandemonium. Some of the papers, for example, have been banned. And, I was speaking to one of my observers who went to one of these stations. In fact, I really wanted him to see if he's gotten the pink sheet or maybe the result of the area where he supervised. And he tells me that he had to run away for his dear life. You see, when you have a situation like this, it is difficult, one, for all the other observers, for example, to be able to give an account of what happened. The EC itself will not be able to give a good account because of the pandemonium that broke out. So you see, it is always good for everybody to exercise restraint when we have decisions like this to make, or for these declarations to be made. When we are quiet and we come out with our protest in the form of a written document, or maybe orally we say that, okay, we don't agree with this, let us do this, you write it. In fact, at the polling station, when you have a doubt about something, the rule is that put it into writing. Let the commission know your stand, that this thing went wrong, even though the result has been declared, I'm not happy, I'm not going to sign, and the reason is this or that. You see, but if you don't do this, then you resort to quarreling or maybe destroying things. It becomes very difficult for the EC to take a decision. And that is why I believe the EC is saying that at a point in time, the returning officer or whoever was declared was under duress.
But
okay.
the concern with that is that does the Electoral Commission have the power to determine and make that declaration that the electoral officer or the returning officer for that constituency made a declaration under duress? I'm sure you're very much into the understanding of the electoral laws. And Does the Electoral Commission have the power to do that? Or it is the courts, as a matter of fact, that have the power to do that?
To be honest with you, I would say that when somebody says that he was under duress, it's only the court that can decide that one. As for that one, I will agree with you.
I see.
As for that one, I agree with you. But you see, the EC is also trying to say that you cannot force somebody to declare result against the person's will. Because the gentleman himself came out later on to say that he had to be forced to declare the result. You see, so if you were the electoral commissioner, would you agree? Would you say that the result should be allowed to stand when somebody has come out, your staff has come out that he meant or there was something different, but then he was forced to say something else? No electoral commissioner will agree to this.
Yes, but that's what I'm saying. That
so the first place
right.
is the court to decide.
Right.
Like you rightly said.
So because you earlier agree with me that it is the courts, and in fact, that's what the law says, that it is the courts that decides this situation of whether there was duress or not. But then again, you end by making yes, you agree.
The gentleman who said he was under duress will have to prove under what condition was he under duress.
Yes.
And that, of course, definitely will be at the court of law.
So the Electoral Commission cannot on its own invalidate a result so declared because of the expression of duress by its officer. It cannot do that.
It depends on the figures that are being quoted. You see, you send somebody to a polling station as a returning officer to return the results of the election. And that person is telling you that, no, what happened is different from what I did because I was there was either at gunpoint or something. I was, so such a thing definitely, I don't think any electoral commissioner will agree when somebody tells the person that I was at gunpoint, somebody was trying to bully me, and so I had to announce C instead of B. So definitely, the answer to this question, it should be the court of law. And I agree with you. Okay. I agree with you, definitely.
Right. Zion, thank you very much for your input and also your thoughts on this matter. Thank you. I know he is still watching, and so he would get in and so because you mentioned his name, so it was an intervention.
I do not see why you can talk about duress when you have security agencies, there that can come in to intervene in a situation. I don't see, and then like he rightly said, if it is duress, what form, and are they competent enough to be able to interpret what duress? And so, please, I think that some of these things we must be circumspect. Otherwise, like I said, we continue to fester certain ideas, negative ideas about the commission, and it is per their own conduct that festers, those ideas. Right. And
there was a question I asked you about.
Yes. You see, Alfred, we speak of conduct. Look at the video I sent you from Karaga.
This is Van Dyke.
Yes.
We'll show it in a bit right now.
Please. In this chaotic situation, EC accepted the results as declared. So nobody talks about Mandai. But there were serious infractions. Same applied to Damongo. Damongo, we are told that in the course of the collation, the place got bent.
Yes, that was
and results were declared at another place. They didn't finish the collation, but EC accepted that results. In Tolong, similarly. In Savelugu,
Tolong, that's where the person died.
Yes.
Habib.
Yes.
Habib, who is accused of stealing, and that case never got handled. And he sat in Parliament for 4 years. He's coming again. This time, the Supreme Court has to deal with that matter, whether he stole or he did it.
Now, in Karaga, similar situation, but the EC has accepted all.
Okay, abusunya we ne ensema ekoso ewo political highway so eye NDC and it just omuguso mount heavy pressure on electoral commission say omu release eye original eye pink sheet no omu nya scan eye pink sheet bia bisia we ne ensema ekoso ebeda masesa mo je pene kokoti sa audio we edema aha POG Media so ebeda masesa